Howdy, y'all. It's Kana here. Today, I wanted to give some of my thoughts about MapleStory Classic. I do want to preface this by saying that I was always a casual player. I never cared about progression. For me, the most important things were community, like party play, PQs, like things like that. So for me, MapleStory Classic is not really about progressing quickly. So just as a casual player, I have no interest in being the first to level 200. I just want to make that very, very clear. I noticed that I'm already falling behind a lot of other people, and that's okay with me. That is not my primary goal. That's not what I aim to do. And I think that I will leave the guides and all that good stuff to all the other good creators out there, because I really don't have any advice for y'all. Like, for me, especially with this video, my main goal is to kind of hit the big points about it. And I really want to talk about and discuss kind of like the community aspects of things versus creating like progression guides or meso guides, things like that. So one of the first things I wanted to go over was just how it feels to jump back into old school MapleStory 20 years later. I do really like how they brought back the original login music and the login screen. And I do like the fact that the dice roll is gone. It's just way faster and easier to make your character and jump into the game. Maple Island was a little bit overwhelming. Obviously, everyone is creating characters at the same exact time, so things are going to feel a little polluted. But, I mean, it's just a wave of nostalgia. It really is. And don't take a shot every time I say nostalgia. Way too many people doing POs recycling, but if you're patient, you can get it done. Now, the great potion famine of 2026. It is annoying. It is terrible. I do wish that potions were a little bit more readily available for everybody, because having to survive off of like 10 lemons and 5 eggs is really tough. I usually tend to gravitate towards the range classes, and something that I do remember doing, which I found myself doing again, and I can see everybody else doing it, is literally juking out the mobs so you don't get hit, jumping on ropes, waiting for one to pass, especially with knockback is brutal. That's not something that we really have to deal with in modern MapleStory, so having to, that was just something that we had to do back then that we still have to do again, and I see people complaining about that, and there's a lot of things that I see people complaining about, but at the end of the day, like, this is classic MapleStory, and that's what we had to do. It does not make it any less annoying, but I think when you're I think when you're 20 something years old, 30 something years old versus 10, like, you kind of tend to forget the things that you went through just to get levels, basically. And then with things like meso as well, it's only been 2 days. There hasn't been enough circulation of meso yet. Like, we don't have a great economy going yet, so things are just going to take time. I know a lot of other people have already covered this. Party play is obviously the way to go. I think people are arguing whether it's 60 or 90% EXP increase. I think it's 60, but I'm not, quite sure. Party play, I feel like, has always been the way to go, but it is a little frustrating if you are not used to it, or if, you can't find 6 people to participate in, or well, I guess 5 people to participate in a party. I don't mind it. It just reminds me of back then, honestly. So, I feel like I'm a little indifferent to that. But then again, I don't care about progression, really. So this is coming from someone who I would prefer to work with others. Something I've been dying to talk about is Burnout. So I don't know how people sit for 12 hours in a row and grind. That's just never been me. I can do it maybe for like an hour at a time, and then I have to take some breaks. And when I say break, I mean I gotta step away for a couple hours, and then I can come back to it and grind it out for a little longer. But my main point with this is that and I don't want to say this out loud, but I feel like over the last 20 years, I've been, and I don't know if other people feel this way, but I have been really spoiled with private servers. And that really has me wondering whether this is going to kill all the private servers off. I don't know if this was their intention. I don't know if this is something that they had in the back of their minds when making Classic, you know, in the hopes that people would gravitate more towards the actual like official Nexon client versus playing private servers, which I believe are not authorized, quote unquote. But of course there were, you know, high rate servers, even the old servers that were the kind of like 1-to-1s, they would still have some sort of EXP buff, so like a 2x EXP that went on, you know, forever basically. Those that you can really tell the difference between 1 to 2x. It's a vast difference. So I think for people who are trying to chase the nostalgia, that's something to kind of keep in mind. Like, you are definitely going to be going back to the grind. It took me about an hour to get from level 13 to 14. I think it was about an hour of playtime. I was only in a party of 2 to 3 people, so I wasn't really utilizing all the resources that I had. But it still took a while, you know. I know there's going to be some times where you are going to have to play solo, or you're going to have to play in parties of 2 or 3 and not necessarily 6. But that's just something to consider when jumping back into this. It has been a very long time, and I think that's what people are forgetting, is that you can watch as much old school content as you want, but it does not compare to actually being hands-on with it and actually putting your fingers on the keyboard and, you know, mashing the buttons yourself. When I was a kid playing MapleStory, I would literally skip school to grind. Like, it was 11 in the morning. The sun was just fully out, almost, you know, all the way up in the sky. And I had not slept, and I was doing like Ludi PQ, you know? So I think that this is going to be really good for people to relive their childhood, because it really does feel super, super, super nostalgic, but also kind of redo things in a new way. And that's another thing that I wanted to talk about. I think people are questioning whether this is going to be viable long term, whether people are going to be burnt out, whether the community is just going to give up on it, and who knows, X amount of time or whatever. But I think with things progressing over the years, and things like Discord and the way that it's just easier to communicate with people, it's going to be easier to get people into the game for sure, without just kind of waiting for people to stumble upon it online. I think that now it'll be a lot easier to get more people into the game with the better ways of communication that we have today. But just keep in mind that this is not a private server. This is an official Nexon server. So expect things to be hard, expect things to be expensive, expect pay to win. There obviously is none of that right now, but, you know, just expect everything that you would expect from Nexon, just with a more limited way of progression, I guess. Like, there's not going to be getting no Legion to 10k, there's not going to be no 30 million combat power in a week, but I think that's what sometimes people forget, is they're so focused on progressing, and they're so focused on being the first to do something or hit that milestone. But this game was not built for that. There will be a lot of firsts in this game, trust me. But don't burn yourself out trying to be the first to do something and trying to be the first to post about it somewhere. You will stress yourself out and burn yourself out very, very quickly. At the end of the day, the best class you can play is the one that you're going to enjoy, the one that you're going to keep coming back to and keep playing, because if you pick a class that you don't like just because you think it's the strongest, then you are going to quit before you even reach second job. That's my best advice for you coming from a Pathfinder main. Now, the biggest topic I wanted to cover, and the one that I am most excited about, is the community. That's always going to be something that I look forward to when I play any type of classic MapleStory. And even though the client has only been out for 2 days, I do honestly have to say that there is still hope for there being a sense of community. Obviously, there's going to be people who are, doing stuff for the meme, of course, but I think even after all of that, once you hit Victoria Island and you're actually in the BS, just seeing people asking for parties, like I saw that a lot. People recruiting for parties, in the, like in Hennesis and other towns, you don't have to go to the FM to put up a storefront anymore. So, people genuinely taking this really serious. It was refreshing to see. I'm going to do my best to explain, but just right off the bat, seeing everybody jump right into the game and have, the same hairstyle, the same face style, everybody in beginner outfits, and just trying to navigate the world together, it really did feel nostalgic. It really did feel like everybody was on a level playing field. There's just something about the old art style and the old layout of the game that just feels so simple and like in the best way possible. There have been numerous moments of the GMs being in towns, interacting with players, spawning mobs and killing everybody on the map, just like little things that were really reminiscent of old MapleStory. And then if you go to any of the training maps, people are joining parties, they're like recruiting for parties, and you're really just forced to communicate with other players. But I really like that, and I think that it'll be a good way to connect with other people, even if it's just for an hour or so. Also, with people spamming smegas and stuff, this is like the most I've seen people talk to each other in a really, really, really long time. And I honestly don't think that's going to be going anywhere, even when the actual client does release. We're still going to see more people joining. It'll be very crowded for a little bit until people start progressing and kind of moving through the game and stuff. But I still think that there's always going to be, level 10s. There's always going to be level 15s, level 20s. It's not going to be this large gap in between players where it's like you're either a beginner or you're very experienced. So I think that will be really cool to see play out again. It's just honestly really crazy that this is all happening. I still cannot believe it, but I just am so glad that there is a market for this, and I'm so happy that this is something that's actually happening now. I've waited a really, really long time for this, and I'm sure everyone else has too. So I really hope people just give it a chance. I'm not trying to glaze necks on or anything. I just really, really love old school MapleStory like so much that it was just such a big part of my life, and it really still is. MapleStory is like the one thing that I feel like I hold really close to my heart from my childhood. So yeah, I've really been enjoying playing this, and I'm excited to see where it goes. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I will catch you guys very soon.